everybody. I'm
Hi.
Carla
Hello.
from Carla Astrology, and today I'm hosting Brunch at the Round Table. And of course, I have Maria, Lady Knight of Avalon, here, and a very special guest today, Rhiannon Rambles.
With wet hair, freshly showered and barely awake, even though I'd say it's more of a tarot lunch, right? At this point.
At this point, yeah.
Well, for me, it's past dinner because it's 9 p.m. over here.
Yes.
Yeah,
we call that dinner here.
Oh, okay.
Dinner.
Good to know.
So guess what we're having then for brunch today?
What?
The pages.
The pages. The pages, yes.
And we are going to, we have
Deanne is here.
We have Deanna, and then
Hi.
we also, hi Deanna, we have Carol. Hi Carol.
Hi, Carol.
Hi. Thanks for joining us.
And Crystal.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
I want to thank you everybody for joining me today. Now we are just doing the pages today, and I think I'm going to go clockwise, so that I'll probably check in with you first, Rhiannon, and we're just going to talk about the pages. Maybe first, what association, like in pages as a whole, do you have, Rhiannon?
So I might have a more simplified way to work with them. And in fact, with all the court cards, just because, again, for most of the work that I'm doing is for a very quick predictive fortune telling style readings, right?
Okay.
So for me in general, the court cards are people. They are the people of the, and I know that is the case for some people, but some people look at it sometimes as a person and sometimes as something else. And I would say 99% of the time, that's what they are to me as people. So the pages would be kids, anybody under 18.
Absolutely. I love that.
So the first thing I think of when I look at a page card is children, youth.
Yeah. Yep.
And depending on what comes else with that, and I predominantly do 3-card spreads, so the other 2 cards in that will kind of tell me, okay, is this one of my clients' children, or what are we talking about? And then I can kind of base it pretty quickly and go, okay, if it's not, then the second thing would be just, is this a messenger? And then what is that message going to be here for? But yeah,
that's fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
What about you, Maria? Like, what do you think about the pages? Just in general, all of it.
You want to take the comment off really quick?
Oh,
okay. There we go. Okay. My internet was just glitching a bit, so fingers crossed nothing happens today. So yeah, I am that reader who for the longest time struggled with the court cards. Like, I can read those descriptions a million times, and 1,000,001 times I would forget them somehow. So for me, not being able to connect with the RWS at first because of the pictures, they were not giving me too much to work with, or I didn't have good enough books back then. I always struggled with that. So it wasn't until I had decks with really good images where the people were actually doing something that I learned to connect with them. And I see them also as people, and kind of like in the court cards, kind of like a family. Like there's the young kid, and it's, well, in the princesses kind of way, so they're like the girls. Then the knights would be the sons, the queen, the mother, and the king, the father, kind of in that family situation. Or also with like age-wise and maturity levels based on that hierarchy. And so, yeah, I read them as people for the most part. Like I barely have them as messengers when I read for other people. For myself, they don't really represent people. I go with what they're actually doing. And so I'm seeing myself in that card when I'm reading for
Do you
myself.
get a lot of pages come up in your own readings? I don't.
Well, the Page of Cups is my Myers-Briggs significator, so I identify with that card quite a bit. Like originally, when I started reading tarot, I always thought because in Western astrology I'm Cancer, so I connected more with the Queen of Cups. Hi. And later on, especially after taking that Myers-Briggs test and everything, I really connected with the Page of Cups much more. And also with how I handle things in certain situations. So yeah.
Cool.
I think that's interesting. As a matter of fact, I wanted to kind of bring that up is when I was doing the series on my channel about the Myers-Briggs Association with the court cards. That pages, I absolutely had you in mind. Because that's Carl Jung. He uses the court cards for archetyping all the, association. So I mean, yeah, they're people to me, definitely, and so they're all non-judgmental. All the pages, which means they are more perceiving than they are judgmental, and then like they all start with the I, which makes them introverts, which I guess we're like shy. So that's where the innocence, I think. And
so the pages are all I, start with I.
Yes.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah,
and end with P.
So are the E's the knights?
The E's are the kings and the knights. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Makes sense.
So I would like to start with the wands. So Rhiannon, you want to show us your...
Yeah, and I'll preface this really quickly. I was like Maria as well when I was learning tarot. The court cards were like, what? They just didn't want to sink in, But I think we have a tendency to maybe overcomplicate them because, the major arcana is so nuanced, and then the minors also so nuanced, but in the more minutia, the page cards are just what they are. So I feel like it's important just to not overcomplicate them and just have them what they are. I did pull out my giant deck just because I always think that that's nice for this style of...
Oh my goodness!
See the cards so much better. So this is the giant Rider-Waite deck. So here's our page. And then as far as some reference books that I think are great for people that are wanting to learn, I have the Your Tarot Court by Ethany Dawn. This is a good one. And then this one is not available, but it's a great book. It's called The New Handbook for the Apprentice by Eileen Connolly from the 70s. Her books are amazing. But what I like about Eileen's books is that she gives like a little poem for each card. So for the Page of Wands, we have fair hair, red hair, eyes of blue, someone young has news for you. So that's the little poem, which I think makes so much sense, right?
Yeah.
Someone has news for you. We have this messenger. So yeah, if it came into the reading for me, I literally would be like, the first thing I would say is would talk to them about their children, if they have any children. And then I would say, okay, well, what are their birthdays? Because in my readings for other people, again, almost like 99% of the time, they present as their sun sign. And so to me, this would be a child who's an Aries, a Leo, or a Sagittarius. So I would ask them because, people have multiple children. So that's how I would find them. So for Page of Wands, with all fire, with all wands, it's just about action. It's about, this would be maybe news of, maybe I would look at this like an invitation to go do something, or if it were a messenger, right, it would be a message about going to go do something or some type of invitation. I really wouldn't complicate it more than that. Honestly, I wish I had more to say about the page cards, but I just don't. I just look at them for what they are. I think I wrote something down. I think this came out of the Ethany Dawn book, but she has a little blurb for each page as well. And the Page of Wands would be I create, would be like the...
Yep. I like that.
So that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, that's a lot. And I love it.
Very yellow.
All right. Maria, what do you
Okay.
have?
So, first of all, if you've been watching this series for a while, you know this card by now, and that is something I'm not going to do today. So, all the court cards, they have their places on the tree as well, but this is something that we're going to save for episode 14 when we're going to talk about the kings and then talk about the full worlds and where we would put all of the court cards, so we're not doing that today. Okay, so, but I did take some notes on like differences between Golden Dawn and RWS. So in the Golden Dawn, this would be the Princess of Wands. So here they are called princesses. This, for example, is from the Hermetic Tarot. This is the Robert Wing deck. This is from the Hermetic Tarot. It's a bit blurry. And something that we can see in both cards, this Amazon-esque statue of this woman, and she's topless and looks like she's ready for battle. And this is from the more modern Initiatory Golden Dawn. And here she's also a princess. And so in the Golden Dawn, she is called the Princess of the Shining Flame and the Rose of the Palace of Fire. All the four princesses represent the completion of the Tetragrammaton in their elements. And each of them is a warrior under the influence of the king, queen, and prince. So she's shown as half naked. She is unafraid. She can be violently strong and enduring at the same time. And she, she's the materialized will of the spirit, so to speak. And she's brilliant, daring, captivating, and irresistible. She creates and destroys her own universe because she's vigorous and irrational at times. She can even be violent and unforgiving, depending on the mood, because the fire signs, they just have like this energy. In the cards, she is holding like one thing that I also found very interesting, especially if we look at the RWS deck, from the aces, we remember that there was always a hand coming out of the clouds and kind of like the hand of God giving us something. And so the pages, for me, are like a continuation because they are the ones who have received this, and now they're standing there like, okay, what do I do with this now? So this is the first young energy of getting into this. And here we have a normal wand, but in the Golden Dawn, it was depicted as a like club that's on fire. And her other hand is placed in the fire of Aries because she is the priestess of the sacred flame, which gives life and destroys. So yeah, she has this connection to Aries. And yeah, and in this card here, there's also this kind of like altar thing with the ram head and everything. So yeah, so that is what the Golden Dawn says about that card. And then for the RWS, when I look at this card, so here we have someone who received, like for me, the wands are also intuition. So this person has received the gift of intuition from God, spirit, the universe, whatever you want to call it, but doesn't really know what to do with it just yet. So he's measuring this thing, like looking up and down, what can it be used for, challenging its purpose, maybe, and wanting this to prove itself, to find out, okay, what can I use it for? The landscape is like there's no real water. So when it comes to like intuition and water, at some point it's going to need nurturing because now the leaves are still green. But if it stays in this environment, that might not be the case much longer. Also, the pyramids in the background are hinting at, like for me, like magic and secrecy and stuff. Because if we think of like ancient pharaohs and the whole like ancient Egypt, all the magic, the rituals, and everything. So with the intuition and stuff, also comes like maybe secret practices or being initiated into the works of magic, things like that, and which is perfect for the suit of wands. So this child, if we want to put it age-wise, is like the magical child, the natural student of life, willing to go to start at the beginning and ready to challenge their own beliefs from the ground up, always curious and always asking questions. And the wands, I also see them as like the sexual suit of them. So this would be like the adolescent person who is just starting out, discovering things about sexuality, like maybe a little bit confused about how to go about certain things, like how do I approach someone, how do I get a date, or I like someone and do you want to go out with me, kind of. So like that person starting out and like trying to find out, how am I supposed to do with this? So for me, this is the kid that asks the most questions. And some other cards that I have in the Housewife's Tarot, this is the Page of Wands. So he's riding on his like broom that he turned into a little horse. And it's just that fiery energy, just going about it, enjoying life and living like that. And the Ludi Lescott, this is a kind of different energy. So here he is standing at the doorway. There's a hand coming out and almost like, are you ready to pay the entrance fee? And this always reminds me of the movie Eyes Wide Shut. Like this is kind of Tom Cruise before he came to the party. And so being excited and intrigued by all of this and really wanting to go there, not knowing what to expect and not knowing that he would be completely in over his head. So this is the moment, like this card, I would read it like, okay, are you sure you really want to do this? Have you really thought this through? So that's like a bit of a be careful what you wish for kind of card. In the Haunted House, what I like about this, like she has this little glowing ball of energy here. So this is like the starting point of the manifestation. And it looks like a carousel here. So everything is going around. So starting things, making them go in motion and just working with that, not standing still. And a very different card is from the Röhrig Tarot. Here, the Princess of Wands. Like what I like in her hair, at first I thought it was a butterfly, but if you look closely, you can see it's a tiger's eye in here. So we have that also kind of animalistic energy in a way, and like the fire and the rawness and all of that, and really just having this wand and the inspiration and just, trying to look for things beyond things. Okay, that's what I have for the wands.
That's a beautiful card, by the way.
Wow, I was going to ask, what was the name of the deck on that last one again?
Röhrig. I can show you the box. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, this would be the Czech version, but that's the name.
Oh, wow. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Never seen it before.
It's a German deck originally.
I want to welcome Phoenix. Hi, Phoenix. Kelly, how are you?
What's up?
Real quick before I show you my stuff, Crystal Ravenrose had said that I skipped one. She said she had a bit of hard time with them when she started out. So I think that's kind of a common thing.
It is.
Like,
and I don't know why, because they're really not that complicated, but I think that's just our nature to want to overcomplicate things. And maybe because where they're people and people are the hardest thing to understand. Maybe that's why.
Word.
Yeah.
Word up.
So because of that, that's one of the reasons why I did get into the Myers-Briggs.
Yeah.
And so the INTP is called the Logician, and it is associated with the Page of Wands. Now, this is my Wizard Tarot.
Wait, the logician?
The Logician.
What's a logician?
That is somebody that is, somebody that uses they're very logical,
Okay.
they're
Yeah. Okay.
imaginative, curious,
Okay.
getting into everything, want to get
Yeah.
into everything.
Yeah.
And so one thing I noticed, because in my Wizard Tarot, it's kind of similar to the RWS, and I noticed the desert, and unfortunately, I don't see, the pyramids, but and when you have that type of youthful energy, then you also have that where, like, kind of what Maria was saying, be careful what you wish for, because that's a lot of fire. And when you're in in a desert, like dry heat area, things catch on fire awfully quick. So I just thought I'd mention that, because I am kind of a Debbie Downer. I do like the shadow side of stuff. So this is the Page of Bones, which is equivalent to the Page of Wands from the Supernatural. And I know Maria remembers her. This is Claire. She's a hunter.
Oh, Claire, yes.
Yeah. She's rebellious. She's enthusiastic.
Yeah.
She has the best of intentions, but yet she's naive. So sometimes, always ready for battle, but not thinking about the consequences, and maybe she lacks discipline. So Supernatural is pretty good at archetyping, I think. And this is my Corrupted Tarot. So this is the Page of Wands from the Corrupted Tarot. So it's very shadowy, very shadow side. And this, I don't think she's in a desert, but this is, she's destroying herself because she needs that external validation, which I think, so like the INTP is somebody that is constantly looking for outside validation. And so sometimes if you're relying on that, then that can be a bit of, self-sabotage. So hard work is needed to keep the flame or that idea alive, because once it's there, it's, it's the beginning of the idea, but you also got to put in the hard work to make it happen. And then, of course, I've got my Light Seers. And the Light Seers is very, I think that's RWS, but this shows the more, the enthusiasm, the like abandonment to just let it happen.
Yeah, and really looking at the RWS Page of Wands is the most boring, I think. And you would be
probably
like this shows that carefree.
Oh, absolutely. Spirit. Yeah, but she's in a desert again. So I mean, so that's kind of a, yeah, you can have that enthusiasm, but unless you're actually careful, you can start a big fire. Mm-hmm. And then the last one I picked was the Myths and Legends, because I'm trying to get familiar with that. And this is Iris. So she's the Greek goddess of the rainbow. So, and she can fly between the realms. So this is more of like a messenger card, I think. So, and this is, and she can, she brings messages from the dead. And so Carl Jung actually associates the wands with intuition. So I think that's really cool. Spirit and fire. So here, I think that's what that's depicting, is the messenger between the realms, somebody that could be giving you a message from a past loved one. And that's what I have.
I love it.
On the wands.
I do think that the decks that both of you are choosing that have the like the Supernatural, I haven't watched that show, but even like with some of my Disney decks or like my Labyrinth one up there that are the Pip decks, I think they always do a really good job at the court cards showing that personality in it. But I don't read with any of these decks. I only really read with RWS ever. So I'm just going to stick with that. But I love hearing your guys' interpretations of that. Okay.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, I study other decks, but I really never read with them ever. And maybe I maybe I want to challenge myself for that. But I just, when you're doing for myself, I'm doing readings all day, every day. It's like when I get done working, it's kind of the last thing I want to do. And so there is for people that want to really go into that professionally, it's something that needs to be thought about because it will change the dynamic of your relationship with this tool, you know? So I'm coming always from this very practical, just like get in there, get the information, get out. And then I forget how much more there is. And that's why it's so nice to listen to you both share those examples. But
before we run into the next, because next I am going to jump into the Page of Cups.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see what some people are saying in the chat. So we got Carol says, Carla, to connect the Myers-Briggs, there's also the connection of the medieval and classical 4 humors known as temperaments that are associated with the court cards. Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, Carol. Yeah. Carol always brings so much. In fact, that's the first time I heard about that sexual energy and wands. Like, hello.
Oh, I in my readings, there's 2 cards that represent sex. 8 of Wands or 3. Ace of Wands, mostly 8 of Wands, the devil. The 8 of Wands is like straight up. We're getting down.
He is with us. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, and the Ace of Wands, that's like the self-pleasure card in that sense. And I mean, there's even an entire book on how to read tarot in a sexual way.
Oh, really?
Not sponsored.
What's it called?
Tarot and Sex or something. I got it on Amazon. It's a red one. Okay. I think it's self-published from someone. Yeah.
Tarot and Sex. That's awesome. All right. So Rhiannon, show us what you got.
So wait, what are we going to next? Cups?
Page of Cups.
Okay, which this one gives a little more, I feel like, in the RWS because we've got this fish coming from the chalice here, right? But if you look at, and I have a hard time with the cups too, because with the pages. I do tend to look at them as more androgynous. So they could be either one, depending on, once I identify. So I have a hard time gendering them because to me they could be either.
Oh yeah.
But I was just gonna say he for the sake of just like with the Bible, right? We know that it could be either, but I'm just gonna use he as like a genderless. I know it's still gendered, but okay. But the flowers on this schmuck, we'll call it, those are more of like the lotus, because the different types of flowers represent different types of energy, which the lotus, of course, always makes us think about, the death and the rebirth cycle and coming back from something, rebirth, we'll say. Page of Cups, though, is that intuitive side, which I would have never looked at the wands that way, but I can see that now with the initiation process. But I would traditionally more view that with the water element. So for me, this might be like messages about love, of course, messages from a lover, from a loved one. It could be dreams because of the intuition aspect of it. So messages that you're receiving from your higher self or those type of messages. Again, back to the Eileen Connolly book, we'll do her little poem, which is, and I don't like to assume what people already know about tarot, but you know that you can use tarot to identify what somebody's going to look like.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's why these poems are going to talk about that. So it is the cups that are associated, all of them, all the courts, not just the pages, with dark hair, lighter eyes, fair skin, where pentacles are dark hair, olive complected skin, or ethnic skin tones, dark eyes. Okay, so you can start to use your tarot to identify what people will look like as well. So for the Page of Cups, it's light brown hair, blue hazel eyes, a gentle soul brings a surprise. That's her little poem that is there, which I think is so cute. But in the reverse, there's also another poem that says, hazel eyes could be blue, hair light to brown will comfort you. So as far as a messenger as well, I would look at this as, because I associate it with loved ones and family, messages of comfort. I can't remember which card it was that Maria was talking about with the Page of Wands, but it did get me to start thinking about the different personality types in children, because I just very generalize them to children. But I have a daughter who's a Cancer, and so she's very needy and very emotional and very, this is definitely that child, right? Page of Cups is the younger person that has a lot of needs, not even in a bad way, but versus that Page of Wands would be the child who maybe just running around, the ADHD, the always out getting into things, mischievous, that we're moving into more of like the emotional side of things with the Page of Cups. So yeah, messages of loved ones. It can sometimes represent birth, but I would more look at the Ace of Cups for that in a reading. But Page of Cups can represent pregnancy sometimes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's all I have for Page of Cups.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So one other channel or other videos that I can recommend is, I don't know if anyone here in the chat remembers Imogen Walters. Unfortunately, she left Tarot Tube a while ago, but she had some interesting videos on the cord cards. Unfortunately, the King's video was never done, but she has one about the Tarot Kindergarten with the pages, Tarot Tinder with the knights, and making friends with the queens. So yeah, she also talks about the different personalities of each of those. So that is a very interesting series to look at.
I followed her for a long time. I didn't realize that she was off.
I miss her. I loved her videos dearly, and yeah, I was sad when she left, but
yeah,
oh well, things happen. Okay, the Princess of Cups. So this is the Robert Wang deck once again, and here we have a warrior type woman again, and it looks like she's walking on water or standing on water. This is the card from the Hermetic Tarot. Here we also have that water energy, and in both cards we see that there is a dolphin, there is a swan. On this one here, it's on her belt, and here it's like the big swan in front of her. There's also a turtle in the cup, so now we don't have a fish in the cup anymore. In the Initiatory Golden Dawn, here we also have the dolphin, and we already got to see the dolphins in the cup suit in, for example, the Two of Cups. There we have the gold and silver dolphin for the masculine and feminine. And here we also have the turtle in the cup. And in the Thoth deck, here we also have this is like a, what is this, like a cup thing? Yeah. So more like a big bowl or something. We have the swan and everything. So the Princess of Cups in the Golden Dawn, she's also called the Princess of the Waters and the Lotus of the Palace of the Floods. She is so in nature. No, she's softer in nature. I can't read my own notes. She's softer in nature than the Princess of Wands. And yeah, she's got that dolphin with her. Where's my card? And yeah, the swan and the turtle, she represents the things that are born from the water. She is the first, like the things that are born from the water, like the first single cell organisms, everything that came out of the water, and also like reproduction in that sense. So like Rhiannon already says, like pregnancy can be associated with that. And yeah, she is kind, tender. She rules over dreams and fertility. She's the romantic artist, and the dolphin stands for power of creation. The swan is for music and poetry, so for the creative side of her. And the sea and the water, that's the spark of imagination that we have in this card. And when it comes to the RWS, so for the Page of Cups, this is a young person coming into their own, charming, full of imagination. Could be an actor because this is the only court card that's also a stage card. And we've done a video on the stage cards before. So this person might not yet know what love is really all about, but can pretend to act that way. So this person is ready for whatever happens and not even surprised by the fish that comes out of that. So this is the anything is possible personality, and takes life lightly, self-confident, and the world is their oyster. There's a lot of inexperience in this card because, this person might be acting on what they think love is. Like me watching Hallmark movies and all that. Like the Page of Cups is actually my card. So yeah, watching a lot of Hallmark movies, having this idea of love, but then sometimes being confronted with the dark sides of love, like the jealousy and betrayal and all that stuff that can happen as well. And that hits harder when it happens because that's just not what this card wants. We want the happy stuff to go with that. So in a way, this like the idealistic first love kind of energy, when we're about to discover what love is, what it means, how to handle it, and not really yet fully aware of the entire spectrum of it. So some other cards that I have here in the Housewives Tarot. This is the little boy, and this is like the family members, like the grandparents, and daddy is here. So like nurturing, family-oriented kind of thing. So making sure that everyone in the family is also getting attention. And I think that goes both ways because as soon as you water the flowers, they're there and, they give you joy. With the Ludi Lescott here, they also put that on a stage. And so this is like, here's the hat down there. So he's like a magician. So he's also portraying some kind of ideal of love. But behind the curtain, there's this hand sticking out. So behind all the illusions and everything, there's also the truth. So this is, if this card came up for me in a reading, I would say, okay, be aware that there are all those shiny things that might look good, like a Hallmark movie, but there's so much more to it, and make sure you look behind the curtain before you buy the cat in the bag, basically. So this is in the haunted house. So here she's depicted as an angel just sitting there, and she also has this ball of energy in her hands, like she's holding her hands like this. She's got this energy, but she's not really paying attention to it. She's more lost in her dream-like world and imagining things and like trying to think about, okay, what can I manifest now? Like she's more the dreamer. And in the bush alert. So this is in the lyrics here because this is now the uncensored version. So I'm not using the censored version anymore. So like she is how she this card talks about emotional freedom. So she is diving head first into all of this, and there's not a care in the world, and she's just free falling, letting go, experiencing it, taking it all in, like whatever happens, and I'm just gonna go with it, I'm just gonna fall, I'm gonna trust. So that's probably the most trusting person. Okay, so that's what I have.
Beautiful.
Thank you. I want to say hi to Ange.
Hey, Ange.
Hey, thank you for joining us today. So we missed a little bit in the comments. So Kelly says that the Moonology Oracle deck can be pretty frisky. Yeah, I have that one, but I haven't really worked with it. And B, you have that book. Was it the one that we were talking about with the?
Maybe the one about sex and tarot.
I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. And Carol agrees that the pages are androgynous too. Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Well, I trust
then-
Carol. So
Oh my gosh, me too. And so and everybody remembers Imogen, and you know what? I don't remember, but
it's
maybe
like a long time ago. What's funny, Maria, is that I'm letting the cat out of the bag a little bit, but with all the hashtag creation, I thought, well, how can I run a group called Oracle Obsessed and not do an Oracle Obsessed tag? But Imogen did an Oracle Obsessed tag like 6 years ago, so that's why I didn't do it. And I was just going to revive it, but now that I know she's not even on, of course I would still give like her credit.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that she was just off. I just thought I hadn't seen her for a long time. But
no, she made a goodbye video, and I think that was like 2-3 years ago already.
oh.
I don't really know, but yeah, she said goodbye. And something that I always
Oracle though did she do tarot?
She did tarot, yeah. And something that I really loved about her channel is she found a way to actually combine her love for tarot and Christianity, because she was raised Catholic and all that, and showing that those things don't have to be exclusive, that they can actually work together.
But I wonder, now that you say that though, I wonder if that is why she left, because I wonder if she had a Doreen Virtue
No, she didn't.
Which I totally love Doreen Virtue anyways, and I think you should be able to change your mind, but I just was curious about that.
No, for her it was other reasons.
UK, right, Maria? She was from UK.
She was from the UK, yeah, and she explained everything in her goodbye video.
Oh, I'll have to go find it and watch it.
What deck was the one that you said Bush Alert for?
Bush Alert. Which one looks like a Van Halen cover?
One.
And yes, she was talking about that. So
I have a
that's
German
awesome.
Oracle deck. I wanted Maria to like see if she knows what it is and tell me the value of it. I can send it to you later though.
Okay.
It's got a lot of bush, also a lot of nudity. It's a beautiful, beautiful deck.
Hey, I'm German. We've got the free body culture, so
yes. But I don't read German, and I'm just like, what do I do with this? But I think it's worth something. But
that's awesome. And she's just listening, so she heard your voice, and she was like, "Oh my goodness!" She says, "Well, hot damn, hello, Rhiannon."
I hear her loudness.
All right, so now continuing on with the Page of Cups, I'll show you what I got. In the Wizard Tarot, the it's kind of blurry, but it is a lot like the RWS. And you see a lot of water, and you see she has the cup, and that's a fish jumping out of the cup.
Mm-hmm.
So the Page of Cups is associated with the INFP, which is, Maria said that's what she is. She's the INFP, and that's the mediator. So, and they're idealistic and very empathetic. They feel called to help other people. That's the INFP in a nutshell. And let me tell you, I feel that. So I do kind of wonder with what the fish is. Like, what does the fish symbolize? Do you guys know?
Well, it always symbolizes Pisces, and also
but that makes sense because it's the moon in Pisces is what I seen.
What else?
That makes sense.
But with Jesus, there's some other. My brain's not on today though, so I know there are some other ones. I'll have to. I'm sure Carol knows. Carol, tell us.
Yes, Carol, tell us. Okay, so this is the Page of Goblets from the Supernatural, and this is Becky Rosen.
She looks annoying, is she? I've never seen the show.
She is. She is. Hashtag stalker.
Okay.
She's a dreamer. She's fueled by her own curiosity, and she's the super fan. So water is emotions. She gets swept up in her romantic fantasies, and sometimes loses sight of reality. So keep dreaming, but stay grounded. So this is my Corrupted Tarot. And like the RWS. He's in water, but his cup is like spilling. And look at the ocean that he's in. There's like it looks like a sea monster behind him. And then there's also the fish that are just erratic jumping up out of the water. So this is about escapism, vulnerability, distortion, and just your emotions getting the best of you, and then you're just drowning.
Is that a kraken?
It could be, because it kind of looks like, it's, can you?
It was just giving me those like Cthulhu vibes or something. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But you're making me want this deck. I mean, I've been
very
seeing so many images now.
It's very shadowy. Now, in the Light Seers, I really love this because instead of the fish flying up out of the cup, it's a pig. So it's like when pigs fly.
That is adorable.
And, the Page of Cups, he's like, yeah, it's happening because you know what? Pigs can fly.
Well, and water signs, especially Pisces, are very live in some like nirvana, other alternate realities sometimes, where pigs probably already do fly.
Yeah, and it's just, it shows, I mean, if it's in reverse, then obviously, he's not grounded. But I mean, at least he's still believing in magic. So it is, you see that very youthful energy that says, yeah, I can have it all, And then in the myth and legends, let me hold
I'm so glad you chose that deck because I want to learn it more too. So you're helping me.
I know. And this is great because, actually writing down what you read helps you to remember. Mm-hmm. And this is one that I definitely have to do that with. So this is Narcissus.
Mm.
Yeah. And you can see that he's
Narcissus. Right?
He's underwater.
Yeah.
But he still has the chalice and, the fish, obviously.
Because the story of Narcissus. He fell into the lake staring at his own reflection. So right. That's why he's in the water, because he fell in, right?
And kind of like what Maria was talking about, like that love aspect of it, is he also like scorned love. He didn't want anything to do with Echo. So he instead, fell in love with himself and cursed himself, and look where he is in this.
But he doesn't even realize he's drowning because he's so oblivious.
That's true. He's oblivious. That is a really good point. Excellent point. But yeah, so that's what I chose. And let me get us all back up here. Let me catch up real quick. We have a couple other people. Let's see. Lady Blind Wolf. Oh, I'm here we go. Here you are. Oh my goodness. It's so good. Thank you for coming in, April. All right. So now we're going to move on to the Page of Swords.
Yes. Which to me, the Swords personality, and it shows it so well with all these clouds, it's going to be somebody who is kind of living up in their own thoughts. What was the word that you used that I asked what it was?
A logician?
Yeah, a logician. To me, this is, somebody who's a logician. It's like the child in school that's like, oh, pick me. I know, yeah. I know the answer every time. And or the super duper, like more like the Aquarius, that's just kind of like almost like a Pisces, living in their own reality. Yeah. Their head is up in the cloud, or they can be very logical, very like reading the child that's always got their head in a book, always reading, as archetypes for the children. But let's go to our poem for this one, which is, now this is kind of throwing me off because I always thought, now, you'll read different books and different people have different ideas about different things, but I had always associated the swords with fair hair, like blonde hair, red hair, but I guess that's just the wand. So this says that swords are hair brown to black and eyes so dark, But I think why, sorry, I don't want to take everybody down all these rabbit holes, but back to this book, and reason why I like it is, if anybody that's followed me knows that I've been studying a system called the Egyptian Tarot through the Brotherhood of Light, and they switch the swords and the pentacles. Okay. This also switches the swords and the pentacles. So I think that's why. So I think when we get to the pentacles, it's going to say blonde. But in most other systems, swords are blonde hair. So I know I'm probably just confusing people here, but but I study that system. So for me, this is the only other book that I have ever found that switches the pentacles and the swords. So a young boy, girl, or child, someone that is definitely on the defensive. You may not like the possible delay in plans. And it says that it could also indicate news. So for me, as a instead of if I look at this as a messenger and not a child, it's like the messenger of messengers, because swords are communication. So I would look at this like a phone call, a text message, an email. You're going to receive some type of communication that you've been expecting, just because it's in general communication versus, like, again, Page of Cups would be maybe communication from a loved one or of an emotional nature, where this is just pure communication of communication. The Page of Swords to me. So that's all.
Alrighty.
That's all I look at it.
And don't worry about rabbit holes. We live for the rabbit holes.
Okay,
so
good. You guys know that I have
throw that our way. I mean, that's why we're doing this stuff, because we want to collect all that kind of good information that we all have. So
I try to keep my rambles to a minimum, but it's almost impossible.
Okay. So the Princess of Swords. So let's start with this one, the Robert Wang deck. That's what she looks like. And this is her in the Hermetic Tarot. So we have similar things in the Thoth deck, and I'll talk about that in just a second. And here we have the Initiatory Golden Dawn, also very I can't even say the word right now, but very powerful, very, very strong. So the Princess of Swords, she is called the Princess of the Rushing Winds and the Lotus of the Palace of Air. So she represents Earth, and she materializes through ideas, and she's the most stable of the elements. Did I switch the swords with them? No. And so she can be just as harsh as the queen and the prince, but her endurance and her severity is greater than that of those two. She is more direct and decisive than her brother, the prince. She has the temper of the queen. She is clever, skillful, a bit aggressive, not to be messed with. So she is, what did I write? Oh yeah, she is the avenging wrath of God, or whatever energy we're working with. So that is one of her functions. She can be like a tornado, striking swiftly without warning.
I'm scared of her.
She carries with her the sword of vengeance in one hand, and on the other hand is placed on the altar of silver, and we see burnt offerings here on this. And she is guarding this altar with determination. She also has this Medusa head. So here it's a very big thing. Here it's on her belt. And the Medusa head means she's beautiful but deadly.
Ooh.
So in
She's
the
queen of swords in
RWS,
training.
What? Excuse me?
She's the queen of swords in training.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So in the RWS, our Page of Swords. So this is the kind of kid that, like, if you give them a sharp weapon, they don't really know what to do with that, so they might not be mature enough and responsible enough to handle this kind of thing. And this is a young energy that can be scary because his weapon is intellect and will. He knows how to hurt someone with words, and he will not necessarily get smarter with age, but more articulate.
Mm.
He is very volatile, so that's what we see. And like, there's wild birds, the hair is blowing, the clouds are moving faster. We've got the wind energy and everything here. So also the earth under his feet kind of looks like wild water in a way. And so everything has a kind of explosive energy to this. So there is more will than experience, more power than judgment, and maybe even a bit of rage. And he could easily harm himself with all of this. But the positive aspect about this person is they're very idealistic and they will fight for what they believe, maybe even more so than some of the older cards, because there's still this level of innocence to it. So, and speaking of hurting themselves, like here we have, the kid with the scissors. Don't run with scissors. Don't do that. But, maybe this is also the kid that will only learn that fire is hot by touching it. Like, this is you can say things 1,000 times, but this kid needs to feel it.
And because they think they know better than you, so until they feel it, they are not going to believe what you have said.
Yeah. And this is also the kind of kid that if you say something like, this will be like the "I hate you" kind of kid, and like really use their words to get you to feel bad for saying no to them.
Yeah.
So in the Ludi Lescott here, what I like about this deck, sometimes we have appearances of the originals. So here is the knight as a statue standing there in the square. And this is the kind of person who has to decide, okay, who is my enemy and who is my friend? Who can I trust? And who should I not even talk to? Like, this is a careful energy, but kind of measuring in a way. But also, like, the hat is pulled a little bit down. So there is the sense of, like, with the hat wearing it, I'm not going to let you see my ideas. Unlike the one with the cups where the hat was lying on the floor. So he's very open to sharing everything. But he is like hiding his thoughts from other people, so not letting others look into his cards. So you don't really know, even though he's trying to measure who is friend, who is foe, we don't really know where he stands sometimes. In the haunted house, what I like about this one is, like, in the attic, there's this little dollhouse here, and with this energy that the page has, this is about to become full, like trying to manifest, okay, how am I going to decorate my world? How am I going to make things happen? And this is like taking the ideas, and like this is the time before we put in the furniture and make this a world that we can live in. And then in the Röhrig Tarot, she looks a little bit more reserved, like she has the sword in her arm, but on her arm here on the wrist, we see some rope, and there's also chains, but one of the links in the chain is broken. So this is the card for, okay, I'm not going to be bound by anything. I'm going to break free. I'm going to do this thing. I have my weapon if I need it, and I can choose what to do with it, whether I'm going to cut someone or whether I might even end up hurting myself. And something that's also very interesting, like the entire crown or hat, whatever, is made up of eyes, kind of creepy. But this is also like always observing everything, always knowing what's going on. Nothing escapes these eyes, so that when the moment comes, every piece of information can be used for good or evil. So that's what I have on the swords.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So looking at the chat, we say, oh, B says, I always see the swords as dark hair and fair skin, and Cups fair skinned with blonde to mousy brown hair. See,
Yeah.
I never have thought about doing that. So I am
And
like,
I think the
so
most
happy.
important thing is, as long as you're consistent in the way that you
Yeah,
do it,
Yes.
and it will
Yep.
be accurate for you.
I believe that. And
So
I
find a
just think
way
it's
and then
awesome.
just make it that for yourself. It makes it very, you can get a lot of really, this is how you fortune tell. You need those type of details.
Yes, absolutely. And intuitively reading, the cards is something that, I have probably done more of previously than actually learning the meanings and now associating what's actually visually in the card has helped me a lot.
Yeah.
So the Page of Swords with my with the wizard deck, this is, I gotta tell you, my pages and all the court cards pretty much are kind of boring in this deck, but I pulled it out because it's like so similar to the RWS.
Yeah.
You got the sky, and he's planted on the ground, but you're seeing more of the sky, and of course he's got the sword. But so the Page of Swords is in the Myers-Briggs associated with the ISTP. So, and that is the virtuoso. And I wondered what that meant. So the virtuoso is somebody that takes everything, like they see everything, they perceive everything. That includes, using all their senses, but they perceive it here. They're very mental, but it's because they're perceiving everything. They like to explore everything with all their senses. So, and to me, that's very mental. They are mechanically inclined to tear things apart and put them back together, regardless of the repercussions of that, just to see how it works. So this is my supernatural, and I don't know if you can tell who that is. Do you recognize them? Yeah, that's Kevin Tran. Yep. He was tasked with translating one of the tablets, and I think it was the Tablet of Heaven. One of them, but it was for the Archangel Michael, because he was fallen and he was trying to get back into heaven. And so he had tasked Kevin with translating the tablet, and he didn't care. Michael didn't. The repercussions of this, so the backlash that was going to happen, like this was going to cause all other things to happen, but he didn't care. He just wanted to get back into heaven. So, and Kevin had that task. He was like overwhelmed with all of the responsibility of it. He was like in over his head. So here the Page of Blades is somebody that is like overwhelmed with all this mental stuff going on, but yet he was, Kevin was awesome. He was very intelligent, but inexperienced. So, and knowledge is power, knowledge, and you have to be respectful. You have to use it, respectfully. So here is my corrupted tarot, and the Page of Swords. You can see the sky is reflected in the mud puddle here, but here he is looking at the sky from the ground, like at a defeated position. So his intellect was more of a curse than it was a gift. It's like, yeah, they're extremely vigilant. Your Page of Swords is vigilant. They're fighting for truth, but kind of like what you said, Maria, unless you really know what the truth is, you need to know what you're fighting for, or something like this can happen. Mm-hmm. So then in my Light Seers, this is awesome too, because she's, here you see light bulbs, in the sky. So there's your ideas, there's your mental. She's got her book that she's reading. And then what I think is awesome is that little thin line that she's walking on is the sword. And it's between like two cliffs there. So it's like she's walking a real thin line, but she's kind of full of herself there, that youthful enthusiasm. She's got all these ideas and the stuff that she's reading. She's like, yeah, but one wrong step and she's going to fall off that sword. She's taking chances with, maybe not having all of it yet, not maybe having all the knowledge, you know what I mean? And then, but yet moving forward without the armor that she absolutely needs to take on that task. So again, in reverse, you might have gossip, because gossip, you can't take gossip as truth because you just don't know. Arrogance, nervous energy, it can also represent dishonesty. And in the myths and legends, this is Pegasus. And
Aw.
Pegasus, this is so cool because Pegasus was born from the blood of Medusa's head when her head was chopped off by Perseus. And it's what you would, I forget what card it is that you had Medusa in it. Wasn't it the Hermetic?
Mm-hmm.
That was it was in the Golden Dawn. Like all the Golden Dawn stuff has the Medusa in it.
And then the myths and legends uses Pegasus, which was born from the blood of Medusa after Perseus killed her by cutting off her head. So I think that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. But, and, of course, Pegasus flies, so there's that whole air aspect. But anyway, I thought that was pretty neat. So have I missed anything in chat? Well, for one, Lady Blind Wolf says she's just listening. She's walking and listening. Carol says, wow, the Myers-Briggs Virtuoso explains the symbology of all the eyes on the head of the girl in Maria's card.
Aww.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, so now we're going to move on to the last, which is the Page of Pentacles.
Yeah. I have to circle it back around because whenever I listen to you guys talking, I always go, "Oh yeah, that's
yeah." Go ahead, please.
About Page of Swords when Maria was talking about the Page of Swords being the one that would like say, "I hate you."
Oh yeah.
Because as a mom, when you're talking about kids, you're always going to be looking at the page cards as like, and just like with Myers-Briggs, you're gonna look at that like, okay, which one of my children? Well, so I have the Cancer, and then I have two daughters. The other one's a Libra, but she has a Gemini rising and a Gemini Mercury. So she has way more air. She's very heavily air influenced, and she is so vicious with her words. Ever since she was a child, she's an adult now. If she's mad at me for anything, she will go to the worst, and that is what she says. I hate you. She will say that she wishes, like, because her father passed away, and she'll tell me that she wishes that I died instead of him. She will go for the, which I love her. I love her for who she is. We have a great relationship, but when she is upset, the verbal attack that you will receive from a very air oriented child is so accurate. It was not even funny. So I would not want to mess with the Page of Swords, actually. And then after listening to the other descriptions that Maria was saying, it was like almost sounded scarier than the Queen of Swords, and the Queen of Swords is pretty scary. Okay, so now we're going to go to the Page of Pentacles, which is a little bit more down to earth, right? Literally. But it also got me thinking about this other deck that I have, and I rarely talk about it because it's a really different deck. It's called the Law of Attraction Tarot. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it. I believe it's an Eastern European deck, but their court cards have really good like depictions of the pages as well. But I just went to go grab it because I'm pretty sure they switched the Pentacles and the Swords as well, because if you look here, this is the page of Pentacles, but what is the depiction? This big brain of just thinking, right? Which that would be really the Page of Swords. And then here's their Page of Pentacles, which is like the slave driver, like get to work. Which is, you would more think of that with like Capricorn or Earth energy, right? So those two must have been, they must also switch their Swords and Pentacles. That's a rabbit hole I'm trying to figure out, alongside trying to figure out if I'm going to follow Western or Real Sky, because I see both. I see the Pentacles and the Swords in both ways, just as I can see astrology in Western and Real Sky. So I've got to make decisions about both of those. But we're going to go with this one, even though it says Swords. This is more what I would say with the Page of Pentacles, which is that Earth energy for a child, much more maybe slower, somebody who is more I would say reward driven. So whether that's like through material things or food or sleep, it's the earth signs like to have that more as like a reward system versus action or experiences. It's more about the luxury. And then for the Page of Pentacles, it's just the trees and the mountains and the earth. But in this one, I don't know why more so than the others, because they're all about the same. I feel like he looks like a giant, when really they all kind of have that same scale. But I don't know why in this one I feel like he just seems bigger than life, or bigger than everything else around. That's the one that stands out to me. As far as messengers go, this would be messages about money, career. You could be hearing something regarding that. If you're waiting to hear if you've got a job, this is the card that you're going to want to see. If you're waiting to get that tax return, because it's that time of year, this is the card you're going to want to see. If you're doing a reading for yourself or others, that's the Page of Pentacles. Yes, the check's in the mail, or you're going to hear about it, or you're going to be getting that job offer. And yeah, that's my Page of Pentacles spiel.
Right on.
Yeah. Easy peasy.
Well, regarding the taxes, do that during a Mercury retrograde if you want to get some good money back, which is now the time.
I have to do like 3 years worth, and I'm not.
Well, then either now or in next retrograde.
No, I was thinking that while the next come, like, actually, this is a great time to do it. In fact, that's probably what I should work on when we get done with this.
And one thing that you said, like the Page of Swords being scarier than the Queen, yes, I agree with that, because the Queen has a filter, and I see that very much as like Queen Elizabeth with never explain, never complain kind of thing. So you would never hear those kind of words out of the mouth from the Queen of Swords.
Is thinking it, but she knows.
Page doesn't have a filter. Kids don't have a filter.
So
yeah. Okay, the Princess of Pentacles. So here we are, and she is also standing outside on the grass. And like in the RWS, here is the Hermetic Tarot version. And so the Thoth also has a similar image in a way. And here is the Initiatory Golden Dawn. So those are the depictions. So the Princess of Pentacles is called the Princess of Echoing Hills, the Rose of the Palace of Earth. She is the most solidified of the elements, and therefore the most manifested of the court cards and the most fertile. So she carries out the birthing process that was started by her mother, the Queen of Pentacles. And this is talking about like in the tree of life, like going from top to bottom. And so she is beautiful, strong, mysterious, and a bit unpredictable. The pure idealized form of womanhood, if you will. She holds a pentacle in one hand, and in the other hand, she has a wand that was summoned by the disc that represents Malkut. So the pentacle that she's holding in her hand, since that's one way of putting it. Like the princesses are in Malkut on the tree. So here, that's what this is symbolizing. And she has complete control over her element. And the ram that is depicted here, it's once again on her belt. Here we have the ram up there. And the thoth that's also like on her head. So the ram stands for, it indicates another period of birth and regeneration. So now in the RWS, this person here is, can be considered as the most spiritual card in the deck. Once again, going back to this idea of the Ace of Pentacles with like the coin just being handed. And this looks like the person who's receiving that and just taking it. And so now being totally fixated on that coin and being mesmerized by this gift in complete awe of manifestation, and fully aware of the star that's on the coin. And so the star being like the God energy. And where's my... I lost my line. Oh yeah. So yeah, this person is also being very careful because the coin is like it's hovering there and it's like trying to grasp it, but not really. Like if the arms were extended a little bit more, that coin could easily be just taken from the sky, so to speak. But there's this carefulness about it, being aware of this miracle. And this person doesn't need a temple to worship because this person is one with nature and everything in it, and sees the miracles in all the ordinary things in life and can find joy in all of those things. This person is doing things with intention, and the intention is to get the full experience and all the blessings that come with that. On the negative side, this is also someone who could, because of all the awe and being mesmerized, and like could very easily fall into the trap of, oh, so many shiny things, gimme, gimme, and lose the sense of being grounded, which for me, and that's like, I remember being that way, coming into Tarot Tube, seeing all those decks, buying all those decks, and then like, so what am I going to do with that now? So that was my Page of Pentacles moment, basically. So that's like the negative or dangerous aspect of this card. So something else, like this is a very different depiction here in the Housewife's Tarot. This is the kid who doesn't know what the value of money actually is. So in order to get attention, just throwing everything out as if it's nothing. And then this is the person who will then later in life learn, oh shit, stuff costs money. I have to make money. I can't just, and that's usually the card when karma comes around. Eventually someone will teach you about the value of money. Just wait and see. And the Ludi Lescott, here we have the student. And this is the person who is book smart, but not street smart so much, because they spend a lot of time learning about everything and studying it and finding all these things that are so like, oh my God, I didn't know this. And yes, and I can get lost in all these stories, and you can have the entire world in a library full of books, and they can tell you all the stories from all the places and people and history and all of that. But eventually you're going to have to go out and experience some of those things yourself, because otherwise you're going to end up like Faust, who studied all his life, and at the end of his life turns out, damn, I missed out. And so the devil comes in, makes him a deal, and then turns him young again. And so now he gets to experience everything that he has only ever read about. But that's like, don't do this. So experience it while you can, so that you don't have regrets. In the haunted house, here we have this young woman sitting there, and she has a flower coming out of the coin. So she is also like surrounded by nature. The animals are coming and looking at what she's doing. She notices them, but she doesn't move. She doesn't do anything. So she doesn't scare them away. Like, this is the harmony of like human and nature together and trying to manifest something in a very natural way without intruding, without, forcing anything that would harm anyone else. And nude alert. So when it comes to like, this is the Röhrig Tarot, this whole thing of like birth, regeneration, rebirth, and all of that. I think this is a very good depiction of it. But also, like, she has her eyes kind of closed, so she's just very focused on this whole process, but also just like the student not seeing too much else. Like, what she's doing with full intention, but for me, there's a part missing. I mean, she can glimpse through that a little bit, but yeah, the focus is definitely on the other part. I'm trying to see. Yeah, this is more like pregnancy and this kind of stuff, and rejuvenation and all that. So yeah, she's very much just focused on that. So that's what I have for the Pentacles.
Awesome. So April is home. B had to get to bed. And we have Rain and Kristen. So welcome.
Hello.
So I've always found it fascinating that the pentacle itself, or the pentagram, is a 5-pointed star, and then it's associated with Earth, and then the pentacle itself is you have spirit at the top, and then you have the other 4 elements that is supposed to be the star, and then the circle is the like protecting all of it. And it's like, isn't that it's supposed to be like all 5, and pent means 5. So I was just kind of wondering if maybe that might be Rhiannon, something that they might get into with what you were talking about, the switch suit.
Okay, so the more of the theory behind the suits being switched is, when it comes to manifestation, really that begins with the thoughts, right? You have to think something in order to manifest it.
Oh, that makes sense.
Whereas the pentacle is when it's already manifested. Now it's physical. So they switch them with the intellect and the thought being the beginning of manifestation, the real bulk of manifestation, and then the swords when it's already manifested. But they also switch the elements with it, the earth and the sword. The sword
okay.
would be the air with having, swords are earth. You think of it in order to manifest it, and then it turns to the pentacle. I think I said it right the first time, but now I'm just talking in circles. But yes, that's the reason behind the difference in looking at it.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. So the Page of Pentacles is associated, the Myers-Briggs, with the ISFP, which is called the Adventurer. So that's kind of like what you were talking about, Maria, with like wanting to experience everything. And so that's like, they're open-minded and considered a true artist, because even though in a non-conventional way, they are perceiving everything through senses and their feelings, and youthful, curious, and eager to try everything. So, and then of course in my wizards, it's again just like the RWS, except for she's not a giant. And I think that's interesting that you pointed that out, because I always think that when I look at the Page of Pentacles and the RWS, that he looks like a giant. So then in the supernatural. They call them the pentagrams, the page of the pentagrams. Now, I don't know if you remember who these fellas are. Now, Kelly, you'll appreciate
Ghost hunters, ghost.
Yep, you and April. These guys are paranormal investigators, and they were their show was called the Ghost Facers.
Ghost Facers, yeah.
Yep. This is Ed and Harry, and they're very curious, and this is kind of reminds me of like the curiosity killed the cat type thing. It's like, I don't know if you guys ever watched Raw with Eddie Murphy. I think it was Raw, where he was talking about going into the house, and it's like, you got, our dumb white people going there, and they go, they say, get out. And we're like, ooh, what's that? We got to check that out. Then he's like, nope, I'm out of here. So he's actually probably pretty smart, but here we are, we're in there. We're like, what's going on? Yeah. Oops. So anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. And I also read that, it could be like a new business venture or just a new adventure. So here is my corrupted tarot, and it's like the RWS, but here he's got the pentacle kind of like, he's not even looking at it. The coin, he's just kind of like, he's extremely distracted. He's looking at his other hand, like, picking at it. And, but yeah, all these other distractions that are going on are like dragging him down. So he's not just grounded. He's like depressed and just distracted. Then in our light seers, this is something that I find really interesting, and I've seen it in some of your cards, Maria, is this thing that she's holding. It's called the mandala. Yeah. Yeah. And then it even looks like it's the same thing down here. But you can see, now she looks like a giant, but you can see that the earth itself is got her, she's connected to the earth. So it kind of shows the interconnectedness that we have with the earth and nature. And manifesting. So that kind of goes with what you were talking about, that this is manifesting and practical magic, because it's grounding yourself.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I could get lost in that one. And then now we have the myth and legends. And this fella is called, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it right, but he is Sikap Kamui. Or Kamoi, and Kamoi is another word for God. So the Ainu people of Japan considered the Sikap Kamoi the god of owls and of the land. So he was a deity of material success, and he oversees the behavior of gods and humans. So that's like he oversees all the realms again, kind of like, that's that pentacle thing. It's all the elements, including spirit. So I like that they chose him for, to represent the Page of Pentacles. And that's what I got. I'm like, did I write anything else interesting? No.
They're not that interesting.
Well, I guess they're as interesting as we let them be.
They are.
Absolutely.
But there's so many more interesting cards, in my opinion, than the court cards in general, honestly.
Yeah.
So the 5-pointed star also represents man, and man has within him the 4 elements. Earth and the pages are associated with earth first, and then their individual elements, they are present, or they represent. Oh my gosh. See, I love you, Carol. I love you very much. Carla, you and Phoenix need to get the Ghost Tarot. Yeah, I agree. I'll get it. Let's see what else. I'm learning the Book of Shadows. Yes, 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 definitely. And Lady Blind Wolf. I really want the Tarot of the Haunted House and the Haunted Mansion. Absolutely. Yeah, it is a fantastic deck. I agree. Well, I think we've been on here an hour and a half. I want to real quick maybe go through and ask each of you what you got coming up on your channels. Rhiannon, what you got coming up?
I don't even know. I'm in a panic because I'm so behind on everything right now. I think I need to get to work, but I know. Well, like I was saying about that Oracle Obsessed tag, I'm going to do an Oracle Obsessed tag, an ode to Imogen, we'll call it.
Oh,
I mean, really, I don't know. You know, my YouTube is very like hit or miss. I'm either on there for 2 weeks straight, and then you might not see me for 4 months. It's just whatever. But I wanted to make a little kind of closing remark. I just thought it was very interesting to see the different energies that came through Maria's, because she picked a lot of the princesses. So this is more for somebody that might be watching now or watching the playback, because we did talk about court cards being difficult to learn. It's really important that you can see if you're using one of those decks with the princesses. They gave very much female woman. I mean, one of them was pregnant. That's not going to give the same energy as the RWS. So I feel like a lot of those decks are very much meant for intuitive reading, which is really good. But I think people get tripped up because they buy a lot of books that the books are written for the RWS system. And then they can't connect the dots because those decks are different. Which, you know, so that's why when I read with RWS, because it's always going to be what it is every single time consistently. But if you're working with a lot of decks or you're purchasing a lot of decks and you're having a hard time learning, that's why. Learn your RWS. It's what it is, and it's a system. And then all these other beautiful decks that we get, read those intuitively because they are designed that way.
I think that's excellent advice, because honestly, that happened to me, Rhiannon. I had to go back to the very beginning and learn basics, because I was like, oh, I gotta have that, you know. And then I got my book of maps from the Spirit Keepers, and then the Thoth, and I was just like.
But then you go to do a reading and they can't figure out why they can't come up with an interpretation, because you're like, wait, I've read this and all these books, but then they're looking at an image of a pregnant supposed child, and there's nothing wrong with any of them. It's just that they're different. They need to be compartmentalized. And I think that, if we try to take on too much too early, it's very overwhelming. Yeah. So they all have so much truth and value. Just don't mix. I mean, not to say you can't mix, because you can read all different styles, but in the beginning, pick something. And I do think it's best personally to learn the RWS and the meanings of what it is and have that base knowledge. And then when you start adding other things, you're not as confused. That's just my 2 cents on it.
And that, I really appreciate every deck that comes with a nice guidebook where the creator of the deck tells about their intentions and why they put certain things in the images so that they actually make sense. Because a lot of times, like, I love the Los Scarabeo decks, but the Little White Book, or even with other decks that just come with a Little White Book, they give me the basic keywords that I can find in any other Little White Book, and I see something in the card and I'm like, why is that there? And I love that Sasha Graham is doing videos.
With the Law of Attraction deck that I just had, that comes with only a little white book, and even smaller because it comes with like 4 languages. So there's only like 5 words per, but the images are so much more like the ones you love to work with, Maria. And I look, when I see you work with those decks, I love it. But my brain goes to, that's not the meaning. They're like an Oracle Tarot hybrid, which is amazing if you're working with that, knowing that. But if you're learning and you keep wanting to associate these other books and meanings to these cards that were not designed with that in mind, it's going to be hard, you know?
And I think it's a matter of just being honest with yourself. Like, what do you want to use tarot for?
Yeah.
Is it for self-discovery? By all means, let's dig in, study.
Mhm.
or is it to read for your friends or have it simple,
Yeah.
because like just to read for someone else, I usually just want to have the RWS meanings and go
Mhm.
with that,
Yeah. But if
but
you're looking at a picture of a woman with uh, bosom, I mean, just
right.
beautiful and just so feminine and like mature, and then you're going, okay, this is a child or a messenger. I'm thinking, what? It's um, they all have their own. I yeah,
Yeah.
intuitive
Well,
reading has its place with those style decks. I feel like,
and you
Hmm.
would reach for that deck.
yeah,
You would reach for that one if you're looking for that. If not, you get your RWS. And like, I love what you said, Rhiannon, in one of your videos where you were talking about using the witchy cauldron,
oh yeah,
because that's brilliant,
yeah,
and you've got your basic meanings right
yeah,
there,
yeah. And
absolutely.
those meanings match up with those images and
Mm-hmm.
those,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yep.
when you're
Yeah.
learning something and it's just very complicated to see all the different images, you can't. That's how the tarot was designed, was to embed these into your subconscious to be able to pull back a certain, evoke a certain feeling, or the symbols are a thing of their own.
Yeah.
Yeah. And usually, like, if you watch our past um round table, I usually represent the basic, and then you get to the, someone else is they're the intuitive reader, and
Yeah,
then you get to Maria, who is studying Golden Dawn, so you get that level.
yeah. It's so good. It's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah,
And
so
that's
it's
why
great.
we have like all these different decks for different purposes. Like
Yeah.
each deck for me has a different reason. And something like, for example, this one here, the Atlantis Tarot, this one has been done so differently. I mean, we all know the Eight of Cups is that walking away card.
Mhm.
And here it's a table full of people cheering
Wow.
and having like a festive thing.
Yeah.
And I would read this card so
Yes.
differently. Like with
Yes.
this deck, I go with images and what I see in the images. I don't go
Right.
with the RWS meanings because I can't. That wouldn't make sense
It
at
would
all.
not. Mm-mm.
Right.
But
And
I do get
whether you're reading for
extremely good
yourself or
readings.
someone else, if you were doing a reading for someone else and you're telling them this means walk away, and they look at that picture, they're like, "What are you talking about?" And you could be an expert at tarot because you are, but if that image doesn't match, it just doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. So
In the little white book here, it says equilibrium between fantasy and rationality, modesty, maturity, inhibitions, shyness for this card. So something very different.
okay, sure.
Yeah. I like what April says. She says, like the decks that I would grab for Carla would be completely different than the decks I would grab for Maria.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I like the books, or I like the decks with a great guidebook too, which is why one of the reasons I love the Light Seers, because her guidebook is so detailed and it makes sense to the images that she chose. If you're going to give a guidebook, then have it make sense with the images that it has.
Yeah.
But we're more seasoned than some
Right.
people.
And that's what it is too. See, I had to go back to the beginnings. I had to. I didn't have a choice because I totally like blew my own mind. And I'm like, Carla, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You got to save what you have, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, this has been excellent. Maria, what do you have coming up on your channel?
Well, since I'm doing the counting the Omer with tarot, that doesn't really leave me a lot of time because I'm taking like 2 hours every day to do that, like doing the reading and then answering the questions and sitting with that, pulling cards with that. So I'm focusing on that for January and February. But in about 2 weeks, we're going to have episode 12 of the Round Table, and then we're going to talk about the Knights, and that will be on my channel.
Absolutely.
What did you say? Counting the what?
Counting the Omer is from a Jewish tradition. And I have, wait a minute. Let me get this book. So I'm doing that with this book,
Hi, Sarah.
Tarot and the Gates of Light. And
Oh,
you
yeah.
have a very precise schedule in here, like which cards you're going to be looking at on what day. And at the end of each day, it gives you questions to meditate on. And what I do is I pull cards for the question to help me like focus for my answer, and because otherwise I could answer them in a million different ways.
Right.
And
Depending
so that's
on
what I'm
deck you're
doing.
using.
I'm actually using this one.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah.
Because I just got it and I want to get to know it. And since counting the Omer is like in this sense all about shadow work, and this is a shadow work deck, so that's why I combined them.
Well, I'll be checking that out.
That is good advice, April. Thank you. She was talking about the 5 and below house tarot books for like $5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just barely got our first 5 below like a year ago because I used to see people doing hauls all the time. And I'm like, what is this store?
I love that.
It's great.
I love that store. I walked in there. I was like, I had no idea all the, stuff that I would be interested in.
Now I was misguided and thought everything cost $5 or below, which is not true. So
it's like a dollar store.
It's not even. There's a lot of things that are 10 or it's cheap.
Yeah, it is.
But I feel like calling it 5 below should mean $5 or below. But see, that's how practical my brain is.
Yeah, I haven't found anything.
It probably was.
Maybe.
But it's been a while since I've been in
before
there,
inflation.
Yes, true.
Yeah. Forrest says 5 and below is dangerous for me. Yeah, me too. $5 adds up if you multiply it.
Well, what's coming up on your channel, Carla?
Well, one thing I do want to let everybody know, I am going to have a giveaway. It's still going to be a minute before I make it to 400, but I want to make it worth everybody's time.
You don't know that. Don't block your manifestations.
No, you're right. Excuse me. It's going to be real soon.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I want to have a giveaway to show everybody exactly. Yay. I mean, I am so appreciative. And I love everybody, especially, coming to the chats and participating, or if you watch a replay.
So what are you at right now? And you're trying to get to 400?
I think 360.
Ooh,
361.
Yeah. So share Carla's page out, people. Let's get her to 400.
Yep.
I'll share it.
And then I have some great interviews. I just had Farah on.
Yeah. I think I have like 25 more minutes to go because I was just barely watching that before we came on.
Oh, good. It's really good. Yeah. I also have another thing that Maria and I do together called The Dish. It's tea time at the dish.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just where we like to go down rabbit holes and talk,
I'd be much better on that because the page cards, I had a lot of fun, so I'm glad that I was here, but I was like, oh.
Yeah, see, I think you have that page energy.
I do. That's why, but they're just, I don't know.
Do you know your Myers-Briggs type?
Well, I told Carla that I thought I was ENFJ, but then ENFP, I think. I always said ENFJ, but then I took it recently because I hadn't taken it for a long time. But I know that it's either ENFJ or ENFP.
Yeah.
So not a page.
Yeah.
Which, King would make sense too, or Knight.
Yeah, and Knight. Yeah, that would have made you the Knight. Yep. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't necessarily I find holes in the theory every now and again.
Yeah.
Especially like what you were talking about, like the how they label the different personalities with one keyword. Like I find holes in that, and you can associate it with other things, but it's really helped me to archetype the cards, talking about the court cards. So that was my whole reason for diving in.
Have you done your human design? Do you know your human design type? I'm more into that than Myers-Briggs.
Well, human design, I actually did that, but it totally boxed me in majorly.
Do you remember what it was?
Shoot. No, it's been probably a couple years since I did it.
It's more kind of like your natal chart a little bit, Marie. It's like a mix of astrology, numerology, I Ching, the chakra system. It's really cool. But to run it or to figure out your type, you'll just type in your birth information, just like your natal chart. Hi, Farah. I think we're all getting ready to go, but
yeah,
it was so fun.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
So besides that, next week I believe Carol, I think, is going to be on my channel.
Ooh,
We're
I'll
all going to
definitely be
get to know
watching
Carol
that.
a little better. Yay!
With
So all
Carol's
right.
videos, I always I click on every one, but I want to pay attention so closely because she gives
Oh
so
my
much
goodness. I
information.
screenshot.
So then I always stop it because I'm like, oh no, I want to pay attention to this and I want to come back. And I can't ever finish it because I'm like, I want to like digest every bit of it.
Yeah, she's amazing.
I got to find a way to get through it. Where usually I have videos playing in the background and I'm kind of multitasking.
I know.
But with Carol's videos, I'm like, nope, I need a pen. I need to get
exactly.
here.
That's what
pay attention. I don't want to waste this moment, but then I don't finish it and I need to do that. So
that's that page energy right there.
Yeah.
No, I'm just messing with you. All right. Well, I love you guys and I love everybody in chat. And I appreciate you coming, and we'll see you in the next chat.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.